Welcome to the Crafty Mini, and this is October Nightmare Part 2. So I'm a big fan of Halloween and horror, as most of you know, and this is something my favourite time of the year. And the whole of October, it's just a case of sitting down watching horror films and things, reading novels, and just really getting into the spirit of it. So to celebrate that, I'm going to be sticking to a horror-themed month. So with each of these episodes, it'll be a paint job, a sculpting, or something else, and then within those there'll be a story about each thing that I've written myself, and those will be towards the end of the video. So if you don't want to watch the actual painting and you want to hear some cool stuff, go towards the end of the video and you'll hear the full story. In this case, Caldur the Cruel, which is he's a jester for a Hungarian king in the medieval period, and did some very unspeakable things. Right, but on to the paintings. So this miniature is from RUMANDRESINMINIATURES off Etsy. Beautiful 3D print. Now this miniature itself, I've enjoyed painting it so much, I've actually ordered it in a larger scale, which might be for a future video. It's just one that I want on display. So this one's only a 28mm, but the detail and everything on it is just absolutely beautiful. It's got a really dark twisted face, and some great sort of character and movement within the piece itself. Right, so I'm going to be using techniques that I've explored in other videos, but we'll keep it more streamlined in this one. So at the start of each section, like this one, so I'm blocking out all the areas that are going to be blue, because I want him to have this sort of checker pattern, you know, half of the tunic blue, half of it red, same on his headpiece and his trousers and his shoes and things, and then he'll have these white accents as we go along. So initially I'm just blocking out all the blue parts, and then we'll go on to the next. Right, so now it's a case of blocking out all the red. So we've got the other half of his tunic, the arms and the gloves will be alternated as well, and then the main leg and his other shoe as well. And then when this is all done, we'll start highlighting and get it all washed down and making it look a bit more grimdark and a bit more dirty. This isn't going to be as full grimdark as some of my other stuff I've done, but it's going to look quite nasty and gnarly at the end of it, as it's a horror themed piece. Right, and then so you can see for this piece now, these undergarments, these are going to be like an off-white, so I've got some grey mixed in with some white, and I've just toned it right the way down. Don't want it too bright because it'll be highlighting up, and all of his undergarments are going to be painted in this. So you've got the frill around his neck, the back of his mask, and these parts of almost like a sort of long johns on his actual legs as well. Right, so at this point it's a case of dirtying everything down now. So I've got some brown wash, which is a mixture of Seraphim Sepia and Vallejo's brown ink. I have to give it a good mix, and then I put it a bit on the water palette, and then a bit more water just to thin it down slightly because I don't want it to stain too much. And this is going to get put all over the miniature. Now for the sort of more intricate areas like this piece of his clothing, now I'm making sure it's going into all those little recesses because this is going to make it pop. And then it's just a case of letting this dry. Everything's going to be all gritty and dirty, sort of like what you get with the AK Interactive grime effects. Similar sort of process to that. And then if it's pulled too much, I'll pull it away with a wet brush while it's drying, but if not, I'll just leave it to fully dry and get into all those recesses, and then we'll go back in with the accent colours. Okay, so you can see here he's extremely dirty. That brown has stained really well. So now it's a case of going back in with the original colours and doing that first initial highlight. And I'm just solely focusing on any raised areas or anywhere where I want that colour to pop a little bit more. So especially when it comes to his back and this particular leg here, because of the way the folds in the fabric work, and it's just picking them out, and it just adds a bunch of layers and depth to the miniature and just makes it stand out a little bit more. Rather than just doing like a standard blue and then highlighting up, it can actually look a bit too bright, and because I want that slight sort of grim dark style or feel about it, this is why we've darkened everything down with that brown wash initially. And then you'll see into the next video when I go in to do the reds again, the blue really pops on the actual miniature. Right, and as you can see there, the blue's starting to come out and pop a bit more, and now it's exactly the same process with the red, and it's just a case of following the folds of the fabric and the lines and little things like, if you can't, because I've already base coated all of this and gone into, you know, all the sort of nooks and crevices and things on the miniature, if I can't get the paintbrush in to do a really good highlight, I just leave it as the stained brown and don't worry about it, because it's all going to add to the finished piece and add, you know, it's got a particular style. This is how I always paint, sort of my standard style, if I'm not trying to push myself too hard and I just want to make something that's fun. It's very, very simple. I like the way the brown just dirties everything, Certain colours you can use different washes, like a black wash as well, but for anything coloured, especially reds and blues, I find that the brown wash really works well, and it makes it look really grungy and dark. And it's, as I say, just a case now of going in and just picking out those little areas, those little folds, wherever I can get the brush, and just making this red really pop. And exactly the same again now with the whites and greys. Now the only slight difference is the actual mask itself, so I'll take my time and I'll block out the entirety of the mask with the same colour I'm going to use to re-highlight the white and grey sort of areas of his clothes that we've done. This is because for the face I'm going to highlight up to a really bright white, so it really punches and stands out. It's also, this was the part where this is where I decided I was going to buy a larger scale miniature of it, because the character in his face is brilliant, and you can't really see it at this scale, which is a bit of a shame, and there's only so much I can get in and highlight, so a larger scale miniature is really going to pop. But you can see he's got like these little fluffy bits of clothes just on the upper part of his arms and around his neck, and again on the lower legs, and all these will get that initial highlight now. So at this point, after you've done your base colours, you've washed everything down, and you've highlighted with your base colours again, before we go to our major highlights, you can really see this is where the miniature's starting to pop, and all those dark recesses are coming through, and he's got this sort of grimy, grim dark sort of appearance. Cut there. And now it's a case of going in all the belts and things. So I've got two different browns. It's just a case I've put some mahogany brown on the actual wet palette, and then one of them I've added a bit of blue and one I've added a bit of red. I'm trying to utilise as much of the colours as I can, and for the alternating belts and things, just go through now and just pick all those details out. This serves as two options. It breaks up the colours, which is great. But also, as it neatens up the actual miniature, you can see if you need a bit more of the blue or the red showing, and you know, you can get a nice balance between the two there. And it's just, for me as well, sometimes I need to go to another colour and just to break up the monotony of painting, and I find it helps me and it refreshes me for when I come to the next one. Okay, so at this point I'm going in there and picking out all these studs on this one particular leg, all the bells around the costume, and these are done with Greedy Gold by Army Painter, mixed in with a little bit of lead belcher just to darken the gold down, because I'm not going to add any washes to this bit and I just want to pick out the highest points. For the actual sort of the bells that are around his chest piece, they're going to get painted all the way around, but just for the studs I just want to pick out the highest areas, and it just makes that red pop a little bit more. It's a really simple one, and it's a bit of a tip for people out there. It's only something I've recently started doing these last few months, but mixing metallics, which probably sounds really obvious to a lot of people, but the colour variations you can get by doing that is absolutely fantastic, and it doesn't just have to be that colour and then, you know, like a slight edge out or highlight with a higher gold or whatever. You know, lead belcher and bronze is a really nice mix as well. You can do a lot of fun with that. Now at this point I'm just going through, so this actual miniature has got some blood detailed and moulded into the actual print on his knife, and he's holding a heart. So it's a case now just basing this with red that I've mixed with a little bit of black so it's not too vibrant, and then I'm going to go in with some blood effect paints after that and just get them so they're dripping down the glove a little bit and a bit further down the blade. And this, when it dries, it's really high gloss, and it just makes it look a bit wet and disgusting, like he's actually holding a heart. And it's just another cool way, if your characters or your miniatures got any sort of accents like that, adding a bit more gore and things to it, like we did with the Butcher video a couple of weeks back. It's the same sort of thing, and it just really makes it pop. So once that's done, I'm just going to go in, so I've got a little bit of purple contrast paint mixed in with some Norm oil and watered it down slightly, and I'm just going to give a tint to his collar piece just to make that pop a little bit more. And obviously with purple, it's a mixture of blue and red, so it'll match nicely and it'll make everything sort of come together a bit more, and it just gives a bit more colour to that neck piece, which is otherwise missing. And with the black, the Norm oil that's mixed in there, that's going to settle in all the recesses and just show those folds in the cloth a little bit more. After that, the face gets that last, and it's just a pure white just on the extreme areas, and he's done, nice and simple. The base, that'll be just painted brown and washed up, and a bit of detail, and I've put some a pool of blood on there for him just to add a bit more effects. But otherwise this miniature's done. As I say, this one I've really enjoyed. I've ordered a larger scale version from Resin. They've been absolutely brilliant, and they've done me a custom order for this. And so I'm going to maybe do a proper video on that because I really want to do a real display piece for this one. But thank you all very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the October Nightmare. And now as we start looking at the actual finished shots, you're going to get to hear the cool story of Caldur the Cruel. So thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers. In the heart of the medieval kingdom of Hungary, amidst the swirling mist and the echoes of dying lantern light, stood the opulent castle of King Brockenow. The halls, though adorned with golden accents and vibrant tapestries, often echoed with laughter that masked a more sinister undertone. For behind the veil of jests and merriment lurked the court jester, a figure both adored and feared, known as Caldur. He was a man of countless faces. His painted, smiling visage concealed a heart draped in darkness. Caldur was a master of merriment, prancing about in garish costumes, his bells ringing in a cacophony that mingled with the revelry of drunken nobles. The king appreciated the way he would lift spirits even in the most sombre of times, but only a few knew the secret that lay hidden under the guise of laughter. Each night, as twilight cloaked the castle in shadows, Caldur would hunt. His victims were always chosen with precision, wealthy guests who drank deeply of wine and frivolity, their laughter echoing through the castles like shepherd songs luring the sheep to slaughter. When their eyes glassed over with intoxication and their minds swirled in blissful ignorance, Caldur would don his most inviting grin, offering them a vibrant jest or a whimsical dance, leading them into a darker corridor of the castle. Once inside, alone in a dimly lit chamber, veiled in crimson tapestries, the laughter would falter. Those who had been so joyful now found themselves ensnared in Caldur's web of horror. With a speed that belied his whimsical appearance, he would lash out, executing a swift and precise dance, a ballet of death. His dagger, shaped like a harlequin's blade, glinted in the flickering candlelight as it plunged into the flesh, and the scream of the unfortunate guest was swallowed by the silence of the chamber. The heart, the beating essence of his victims, was extracted with gentle artistry, ritualistic in its brutality. Caldur would place it within a chalice, an offering to the dark gods that whispered promises of power into his ear. The very same deities who had granted him the gift of laughter that could mask the terror within. Caldur had no limits to his victims. Some were men of noble birth, some were kitchen staff, some the orphan children that walked the grounds looking for work. All that mattered was their hearts, and his lust to offer them up to the dark powers. As seasons turned, the disappearances of the guests became an unspoken rumour, rumours that lingered in hushed conversations in the hallways of the castle. The revellers spoke of the inexplicable shadows that danced behind the jester, and the unseen eyes that seemed to watch from the corners where laughter turned sour. Yet the king remained oblivious. Entranced by Caldur's performances, the fool who turned all their joys into dollars of laughter. Then came the festival of the harvest moon, a night of grand celebration. The castle was adorned with garlands of autumn hues, and the ambience breathed excitement as nobles arrived, their spirits high. That evening, Caldur put on his most flamboyant attire, a patchwork of colours that shone under the gilded candlelight, an uncanny clown who beckoned joy yet radiated menace. Caldur sensed the energy vibrating through the festivities, a palpable giant to be slain. As nobles danced and drank, he fixated on his next prey, Lady Isolde, the most cherished noblewoman in the kingdom, known for her beauty and gentleness. Enraptured by her laughter, Caldur swirls towards her, his gestures extravagant. He guided her into a more secluded courtyard, the moonlight painting them in silver and shadows. Yet, unbeknownst to Caldur, Lady Isolde was no naive maiden. Instead, she held a secret of her own, a lineage of witchcraft that flowed through her veins. As he prepared to make his move, she felt the chill of his intent wash over her, and in that heartbeat she changed softly, willing the protective spirits that guarded her ancestors to awaken from their slumber. Suddenly, as Caldur lunged forward, the air shimmered with energy. He faltered, surprise flashing across his painted face. The dagger clattered to the ground, and the very shadows that clung to him twisted and writhed, revealing the true horror of who and what he had become. It was not long before the guests grew concerned for the absent noble woman. They murmured and searched, trials of laughter turning to cries of confusion. When they finally found Lady Isolde, she was unharmed, standing as a tall figure of defiance confronting the jester. Caldur, caught in the echo of laughter he had once commanded, became a prisoner of the magic she wielded. "Your laughter masks a heart that knows only darkness," Lady Isolde declared, her voice firm. "Let the spirits judge you for the souls you have taken." The jester's laughter turned to screams as the energy encircled him, the spirits of his victims rising from the depths, shrouded in darkness, and their faces twisted in anguish. Caldur's painted smile cracked, revealing a horror behind the mirth he had dissipated into that night, swallowed by the very shadows he had always commanded. The castle was forever changed. The laughter that had once echoed through the halls was replaced by an uneasy silence. Lady Isolde became a celebrated hero, warning of all the dangers concealed behind the jester's mask. And as for Caldur, stories of court jester turned killer wound through the kingdom, a cautionary tale, a ghostly echo of laughter, hollow and sinister, never to be forgotten.